Next on BYUSN, the best and worst case scenarios for BYU football in year one of the Big 12 and why one national writer is saying BYU's ceiling is potentially the Big 12 championship game.
Wow. Plus, now that BYU is officially in the Big 12 conference and a Power 5 team, what should be item number one on BYU's Power 5 to-do list?
Oh, these are loaded questions. Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is Wednesday, July 5th. Hope everyone had a happy and safe July 4th. I am Spencer Linton, alongside a man who has, well, he's overcome the fireworks fatigue, Blaine Fowler.
Maybe not. No. I have to admit, I bailed last night.
No fireworks last night?
No, well, all around my house.
Sure.
I got in bed and I was like, I need earplugs right now because they were still going off. But the whole family, we had a big party yesterday. The whole family went out to Lehigh to Thanksgiving Point to that big fireworks thing there. And I just said, guys, I'm out. I'm exhausted. Too many 1 o'clock in the morning, you know. And we have a production meeting at 7 o'clock for this show.
Got to do a show.
We've got serious business going on.
Yes.
And so I'm going to go to bed. But going to bed wasn't as easy as it sounded because there were fireworks everywhere. And I'm certain 90% of them are illegal. So it's.
This is the day and age that we live in.
Yeah. So I'm a party pooper. I usually am not. I had enough fireworks because of all the Big 12 stuff and Saturday night with the Stadium of Fire and all that. So I bailed last night. But the 4th was awesome and the food was awesome. So it's all good.
Is. My good friend Steven Nelson, who worked at Major League Baseball Network, he was an intern at my station in Palm Springs. He's now calling games for the Dodgers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's with Joe Davis.
Yeah.
So it's Joe Davis and my buddy Steven Nelson.
That's awesome.
He is a father of young children. And he said, anybody that sets off a firework before July 4th, after 11 p.m., there should be a statute in a law that says you get punched in the face by law enforcement.
That's a good penalty. Well, hey, I'll tell you, even though I didn't go last night, it should pay off because we got a great show today. We talked about the show a little bit yesterday.
Yes.
We had our production meeting early this morning. So on today's show, we got lots of good stuff for you. BYU's now a Power 5 program. What are the most important upgrades BYU needs to make? What are your realistic best and worst case scenarios for BYU's football's first year in the Big 12? Hey, former BYU and NFL defensive lineman Bronson Kaufusi is going to join the program, and he's going to talk about those very topics with us here on the program. And who is BYU's most underrated defensive player? We'll tell you who our picks are on that one.
Pro Football Focus had their say as well. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. What's Trending, presented by Feastbox, donating 10% of every order to Full of Hope, a charitable organization that feeds hungry families. Item number one on BYU's Power 5 to-do list. Of course, the Cougars are now officially in the Big 12, so we can turn the page and start to order those agenda items. So what is at the top of your list for BYU's Power 5 to-do list right now, Blaine?
Well, I think in a couple of sports especially, and I'm going to focus on football and basketball here for a minute, mostly football because that's the next big season, updating of the whole process around recruiting has to happen for BYU to be able to compete in that league. Now, some sports are in great shape. For instance, does women's soccer need to do anything different than they're doing right now? No, they do not.
They enter large. They'll probably be picked to win the conference.
Right. Cross country. We had Diljit on the show the other day. No, cross country doesn't need to do anything different. Men's track and field doesn't. Maybe a few tweaks here and there. But when it comes to football and basketball, and women's basketball as well, I feel like the talent level and depth has got to be continually upgraded and analyzed. And so all the processes around recruiting have to be improved.
Yeah. How do you do this, though? How do you do it?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. First, you have to have people and resources to evaluate talent. So you have to have the right people and the right number of people to be constantly with their ear to the ground about where this talent is and where the right fits for BYU are. As you're recruiting folks, the process of bringing them on campus, interacting with them via social media, via text, via email, voice-to-voice on the phone, has to be unbelievably tailored to the specifics of those individual players. Recruiting is so individualized these days,
yes.
and it takes a tremendous group effort to do all the research necessary to know what matters. Like, if you're a big-time recruit, Spencer, what matters most to you? Are you a kid that when he comes on campus says, you know what I really want to do? I live in a far-off place, and I don't have access, but I'm an LDS kid. I would really love to go to the Temple when I come to BYU. One kid might want to go have a couple of teammates,
sure.
players, potential teammates, take him to the Temple. Another might want to say, well, is it a fun place? Do they have parties? What kind of parties do they have there? That kid might want to go to a good, wholesome BYU party and see that kids can have fun and still stay close to that honor code. And that might be important for that one. Another, it might be, education is the biggest thing for my family, and this is what I'm thinking about what I want to major in. It might be sitting down with professors.
Sure, take it to the law school and the Marriott Business School.
So it's a combination of things, but I think recruiting is an art, and I think it takes tremendous resources that BYU maybe hasn't had in the past.
Okay.
And then I think, so that's my 1A, and my 1B is facilities are hugely important. And we're going to ask Bronson Kaufusi about this on the show today. When you go on a recruiting visit and you walk around, what's important to you?
Yeah, if you're a new recruit right now, like right now, what do you want to see?
Yeah, what's the most important part of the facilities? Because you compare. You come on the visit here, and now BYU is going to recruit against guys that are going to go to Oregon or go to UCLA or go to Colorado or Arizona State or Texas, and you want that player, and they come out and they're immediately comparing what did they show me at Texas compared to the facilities here. Is this a big-time program or not? You know, and Tom Homo addressed that Saturday as part of his big media availability at the Big 12 celebration, and he said this about facilities. He says, if you look at the Marriott Center that was built in 1971, oh, by the way, we have people come in here and think that it was built 5 or 10 years ago because they've done such a good job of keeping it great. All the little upgrades and tweaks to that Marriott Center make it seem relevant. It's a great venue. The football stadium, we have a huge advantage. It's a great place to play, but that's a stadium that needs some work. It's dated.
It needs hospitality suites. It needs to be upgraded and brought into this generation where it just can be luxurious in certain parts of the stadium, not to mention the seating for all of the 63,000 fans could use a significant upgrade as well.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's not only for your fans, it's for visiting fans to come in and visiting teams to come in. You know what? There's something to be said when a visiting team walks into your stadium and they go, oh, wow, this place is big time. In the back of their minds, they're not saying this, but they're like, this is a big time program. We're playing a big time team. The visiting fans are going, whoa, look at this facility, look at this stadium, look at the way they treat you. And it's also the stadium experience, right? Which David Almodovar, our good friend, and that whole BYU sports marketing team has a lot to do with. But you want this to be the greatest home field advantage in the Big 12 conference, and you want people to come and be impressed, but it also is a big part of recruiting. You want those recruits to walk through and go, wow, this compares to any place I've been.
Blaine, once Texas and Oklahoma leave, BYU is going to have the biggest seating capacity in the Big 12.
And let me tell you, like a technology that they're using now, and BYU is adopting all these technologies, they take the players into the stadium, and they say, we want you to imagine yourself playing in the stadium. You know, one of the best things you can do to a player when you get him on campus is get him in a BYU uniform and take him over to the stadium, take pictures and do those kinds of things. But you get him in there, and you put a pair of virtual reality glasses on him, and you say, with the loudspeaker going, this was the Arizona State game last, the night game where Tyler punched the ball out 2 seasons ago. This was Utah, and this is what it sounded like. And you let them look around with virtual reality glasses on, and you talk to them about imagining themselves being on that field and playing in this environment. And then they get goosebumps, and then they go, yeah, this feels real. Those are just some of the things you have to do. But you know what? That technology, all of the coordination, all of the things we're talking about takes resources. And BYU has more resources now. I think 1A and 1B, recruiting, and as part of recruiting, facilities are the two things that you've got to big time improve.
Okay, I want to add a couple of things to your 1A and 1B. We'll stay with the stadium right now because Chad Lewis joined us on BYU Sports Nation last week. And he alluded to the same things that you were discussing with Tom Homo. Listen to this from Chad Lewis.
But when the Big 12 came to look at our stadium, they're like, that's a cute stadium. You know, it's like, got a real 70s feel.
We see size and think it's good, but it's really about quality of facility.
Well, we have a lot of size, but we have extremely limited hosting ability. We have so much to do to that stadium in particular, not even addressing other places, that we have our hands full. We have a very good idea of what we need to do. That will be rolled out, you know, through the years.
I love how Frank goes. That's a cute stadium.
That's cute.
Straight out of the 70s.
Hey, when we went to Nebraska, and I've been in most of the big stadiums in the country throughout my broadcasting career, but we went to do a pregame, postgame show from the field at Nebraska, and that's a historic place, and it's an older stadium.
Yes.
But it's been upgraded all over the place, and when you walk in there, it's a big time environment. And Nebraska's not even been good in recent years. But man, if I'm a recruit and I'm walking in there, I was a visiting fan / media.
Yeah.
Dave McCann and I just kept saying, wow, this place is awesome. That's what you want people to, because you can blend the historic nature of what you've got. So you can take advantage of all the history that's happened in LaVell Edwards Stadium. But you can also have second to none world-class facilities,
yes.
and everything from hosting to restrooms to the way fans get around and do all of that.
Blaine, they could remove the bench seating. Think about that. It would cost a lot of money. There are a lot of seats in there, okay? A lot of bench seats in there. They could remove all those and have individualized seats. Be a lot of money, but it would look incredible.
Hey,
right?
if money is no object, and I know we just built those little, what are those things in between the end zones and the...
Oh, yeah, the connectors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just spent, BYU just spent a lot of money to make those little hosting areas, but heck, fill in the corners and go all chair seats and make it a complete bowl. Can you imagine the sound? It's already one of the loudest stadiums. Here's what's funny. You get Sione Pua, who came down from Utah, Jay Hill, who coached at Utah and at Weber State. You get these coaches that were at Utah, and you say, what's the loudest stadium? And they go, pretty much BYU. We played there. And that's impressive, right? So now close those end zones, close those corners in, and contain that sound. Make it all chairs. I'm just spending millions of bucks here, right?
Yes, that's so much. But it's easy for us to be like, let's just do this. What is it?
Just do this.
50 mil, 100 mil, whatever.
You've got to prioritize. But that's the vision that we have for this program over time, is that the facilities are the best in the league as well, and that helps your recruiting. And when you get players, you have success on the field.
Okay, I want to add one last thing to your 1A on the recruiting. I have this vision in my mind, Blaine, of coaches walking into a room to have a recruiting meeting with a personnel staff of 5 to 10 people that are hired just to research potential recruits. And these staff, these personnel, handing the coaches like a one sheet of everything that is specific to said player, down to his favorite cereal is Fruit Loops. He typically wakes up at 8:30 in the morning. His favorite type of car is this. His hobbies outside of football include this and this and this and this. This is his nickname. This is how he got his nickname.
Yes.
I'm talking about those type of details. I have this dream that the coaches, and to the credit of the coaches, and Jay Hill and those guys, they do a lot of this on their own. How cool would it be to have enough personnel and staff, and it takes money to hire those positions, to organize all this information, to be like, okay, Coach Hill, we're hosting these 8 recruits today. Here are the
Here's
8
everything you need to know.
8 one sheets. This includes anything and everything you could possibly hope to know about this player, so that you can really, really come at them with a prepared backdrop.
Yep, I love it.
That to me is kind of where I'm like, this is where BYU can get better.
That goes right along. I'm telling you, we're on the same page on this, because recruiting is paramount to success.
Kalani Sitake said several times, recruiting is the lifeblood of any program.
Yes.
He's not going away from it.
I love it. So, hey, let's move on to this other item of interest that kind of came over this weekend. CBS sports writer Shehan, you're gonna help me with this.
Okay.
Jayaraja.
Perfect.
Did I get it?
Yes.
Jayaraja.
Shehan Jayaraja.
Okay.
Yes.
He wrote an article detailing the best and worst case scenarios for each of the 4 new Big 12 teams first year in the conference.
Okay.
So he wrote for BYU's best case scenario.
Okay, I like this.
Okay.
I like this.
If BYU can come out strong It could be looking at a 5-0 start heading into a tough trio of Texas games.
5-0, you're top 15 in the country.
Right, and that would also include a win at Arkansas.
Yes.
Right. So, and then he says, if BYU threads the needle, it has an outside shot at the Big 12 championship
Now
game.
we're talking, Shehan.
Heading into the final 2 weeks against the Oklahoma schools.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'm with you, Shehan. Okay. So as for the worst case scenario,
do we need to go here? Do we even need to
As for the worst case, this is what he says. If BYU gets blown out by Arkansas in week 3, the lack of confidence continues into winnable games against Kansas and Cincinnati, leaving BYU at risk of getting blanked in Big 12 play.
Stop it!
Except a win against Iowa State or Cincinnati at least, but the path could be treacherous.
Expect a win against Iowa State or Cincinnati at least? Like, what?
Yeah. So I was just like, wow. And this is what he says. The depth component will be the biggest question mark for the Cougars.
Okay.
Playing 10 losable games is a huge step up from the 4 or 5 of previous seasons. The floor is much lower, which that's a valid point, right? In past seasons, although I do say that BYU in the last couple of seasons,
it hasn't been 4 or 5
7
losable
P5s,
games.
5 P.
It's been like 7 or 8.
Right, but there have been seasons, if you go back 4, 5, 6 years ago, where you go, oh man, if they, there's only like 4 losable games on this schedule. Not the last couple of years in Independence. Last couple of years,
sure.
I felt like there was 8 losable games 2 seasons ago, and there was 9 losable games. Like it's changed,
yeah,
and for that reason, I think it's a little bit different than he describes there. So, what are this is my question now. After all of that setup, that's a lot of setup, right? What are your realistic best and worst case scenarios for this first season in the Big 12 for football?
Okay, well, Shehan gave us the could be in the Big 12 championship game. Also, they could go winless in the Big 12. So he's.
Could you say that for any team in the country? Like,
he's covered.
I mean, I appreciate the article, and he had a lot of good research in the article. We both read it, but that's a big spread.
The key word here is realistic.
Okay.
Realistic best and worst case scenarios. The realistic best case scenario, and I'm going to focus specifically on Big 12 play.
Okay.
The 9 Big 12 games that BYU has slated right now. I feel like BYU has enough talent and depth right now, assuming health, and we will until it's not there, but with health and depth and the coaching staff changes, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like BYU has enough that their best case scenario, realistically speaking, is 6-3 in the Big 12.
That'd be great.
6-3 would be incredible, because then you couple that with whatever BYU puts together in the non-con. They're going to win at least 2. You beat Arkansas, Blaine.
Yeah.
You're now 9-3, and you're nationally ranked, and you're playing in a nice bowl game with ties to the Big 12. Okay, that to me feels realistic. Best case, 6-3 in the Big 12. Worst case scenario, I do not see any way that BYU does not win at least 3 Big 12 games. Okay, that would be the worst case scenario in the Big 12, which would mean that you have to win 3 non-conference games.
That would include Arkansas, right, on the road.
Yes, and couple that with 3 Big 12 wins to get to 6 and just get to bowl eligibility. That's scary. So, if you don't do that, now you're 5-7 and you're missing out on a bowl game. That's probably the realistic worst case scenario, but it's like a 3-game swing.
You're saying, if I add up your numbers, what you're saying is worst case scenario is 5-7 overall.
Yes.
Best case scenario is 9-3 overall.
Yeah. And there's probably a regression to the mean there where I'm thinking it's most likely going to be 8-5 or 6-6.
Yeah. And hey, you and I, everybody knows this. You and I are more on the same page than you and Jerem ever were, right?
True. Truer words were never spoken.
So my best case scenario would be BYU starts 5-0, as was mentioned in the article.
You'd be top 15.
Well, and here's the thing. I just feel like Arkansas is a tough thing there on the road, but I feel like BYU is so different on defense that it's going to take some time to adjust. And I don't think they have to show everything in the Sam Houston and SUU games. So I think Arkansas is going to get some blitz packages and some things on defense they have not seen.
Yeah, BYU's not going to give up 52 to Arkansas.
They're going to be so much more disruptive, and I think BYU is just going to be good enough on offense to move the ball. And that is a winnable game on the road. Now, that's a huge win if they get it on the road. That's my best case scenario.
Okay.
My worst is that BYU starts 3-2.
Okay.
So to me, the first 5 games determine everything. It determines whether, like you, they go 5-9. They go 5-7 on the season, or they go win. I think 8 would be a phenomenal win total.
It would.
My over-under, Vegas is 5.5. Mine's 7.
Yeah.
I have a little more insight into the transfers that left and the ones that came in and all that kind of stuff and how they're going to impact. I've studied every team like everybody does that they're going to play. I have a little more confidence than Vegas. I think 7 is the over-under for BYU this year, not 5.5.
Wow. Okay. If you like, I had a fan ask me the other day, Spencer, right now, what's BYU's record to be in 2023? What's it going to be right now? 7-5.
I'd take 7-5.
7-5.
Yep, and I think that's realistic. Could they get hot and go 5-0, and then 9's not crazy, 8's doable, but I think 7 is fair.
Okay, those are our realistic best and worst case scenarios for BYU football.
We both have 5 as the worst.
Yes,
wins.
Blaine,
we both have 9 as the best.
I do not see how this much talent and this staff could produce anything worse than at least 5 wins.
I'm with you. Okay.
If it's worse than that, things have gone terribly wrong.
Everybody heard it here. 5 is the worst.
It could not possibly be worse than that. Not with this much talent and this staff. No way. Our question of the day, what do you think? Again, you've heard what we say. Your realistic best and worst case scenarios for BYU football's first year in the Big 12. John Spears on Twitter answers, worst case feels like
okay, John,
5-7.
You're with us, brother.
With a couple of great wins and several horrible losses. Best case feels like 9-4 with a bowl game win.
Including that, yeah.
Okay, and late season contention for the Big 12 title game.
Okay, John, that's...
If you're 6-3, I don't know if you're going to be in contention for a Big 12 title game. But it is fun to think about. It's fun to think about.
Hey, you got to get hot.
You start 5-0.
You get hot and you stay healthy.
Yes.
And then everything's different.
Blaine, if you start 5-0, BYU is going to be...
If you start slow and you have a bunch of injuries, it doesn't matter who you are unless you're Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. That's it.
You can hear it now. The early season darling in the Big 12. First year in the Power. BYU's 5-0. The top 15.
Well, hey, BYU Sports Nation will hit the road to Dallas for Big 12 Media Days. We'll have you covered with interviews with Kalani Sitake, Keaton Slovis, Cody Epps, a number of the other head coaches and players from other Big 12 teams. Make sure to watch on July 12th, 13th, and 14th. Starts at noon Eastern on BYUtv and BYU Radio. From Jerry's World in Dallas. Up next, Bronson Kaufusi is in Studio B. How is he feeling now that BYU is officially in the Big 12? What did he observe in that crazy weekend over July 1st and his best and worst case scenarios? Not to mention recruiting. What does he care about if he's a recruit? Stay with us.
BYU Sports Nation is sponsored by Feastbox Global Grill, a unique dining experience featuring Texas, Hawaiian, and Korean meats. Time to feast.
This is where we dominate. Our playground, place of business. This is our promised land, where we seek to find ourselves. And we're here to make sure the spaces our best prove themselves on appear how they should. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
Dexter & Dexter is a full-service law firm offering a wide range of legal services. Since 1995, we have helped more than 20,000 Utahns both to navigate life's challenges and to make the most of life's opportunities. From accidents to wills, from bankruptcy to business law, we are passionate about shouldering your burdens. To learn more about scheduling a no-obligation consultation, visit dexterlaw.com.
Every day, I help an animal walk again.
I believe that having special needs animals has brought an extra layer of richness to the fabric of our family.
Not many people take in these special needs guys, but in the end, they're the best ones.
It's unbelievable. It's like his disability has disappeared.
Every step just proves to me that these dogs can get through anything.
Came out slinging it.
The tempo, why not finish the drive?
We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. Teamed up once again with Blaine Fowler. I am Spencer Linton. We now welcome in former BYU and NFL defensive lineman Bronson Kaufusi. Once again with us in the Cougar Council Room as part of Studio B. Bronson, a happy belated 4th of July. How are the celebrations?
Oh, the best. Little Provo parade, fireworks, all the good stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, you're the mayor's son. Like, you get special treatment within at least the Provo city limits, right?
Yeah, do you get special seats and stuff like that for everything? You have to, right?
I just go wherever my mom tells me to go. Be here, do that. Okay.
You know what? Even when your mom's not the mayor, is that probably not words to live by?
No, it's true.
Just go where mom tells you to go is probably good advice for everybody that's out there, I would say, right?
Oh, great stuff, man. And a shout out to your mom, Mayor Kaufusi, getting it done in Provo City. Always. All right, on to less important things. You know, mom and the city, number one for you for sure. But hey, BYU is officially in the Big 12 now. So it wasn't just a 4th of July celebration recently. It was on July 1st, BYU getting into the Big 12 celebration. What were your observations of that whole process?
It's been a long time coming. And I'm just really excited. I felt like it's good energy. I feel like all the fans, everyone is just so happy that that happened. And as a player, I know a lot of the players are excited. All the coaches are. There's a lot of good energy surrounding it.
Yeah, as a former player, what did it mean to you, like to realize that moment, like it's finally happening?
I don't know. For me personally, I felt like, oh man, I kind of took part in that story along the line there, and so I'm just excited because okay, now we get to go and share our brand of football, who we are, what we do, what we represent, and now we get to go on an even bigger stage. So it's going to be awesome.
You know, we've talked a lot leading up to this because we've known about it for a while.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden it feels real and it feels imminent. And it feels like, hey, wait, the next thing is the opening of camp, right?
Yeah.
So it is real now. And as you think about the reality of the schedule being out and all that, in your mind, what's the best case scenario for BYU in football this fall?
Man, that's a really good question. Because I was looking at my phone, and I was like, wow, we're like 60 days away from game 1. This is crazy. Yeah, camp's here, like, holy cow. So best case scenario in my mind is we go out and we earn that respect game to game. And I feel like we can go and be over 500.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay.
In my mind.
So like a realistic best case scenario, you're looking at like 7-5, 8-4-ish. Is that what we're putting numbers to it in the win-loss category? Could it be a little bit better than that?
I think a little bit better.
Well, he's saying over if they're over 500 in league, they're 5-4, right?
That and if you win all 3 non-conference games, then you're 8. Then you're 8-4.
Then you're 8.
Let's go with 8. Let's go with 8.
Realistic best case, 8 wins.
Let's go with 8.
Okay.
And you'd be okay with 8?
Yeah, I feel like that would be really good. Just coming into new territory, new land. You're over there trying to figure out the lay of the land, the teams, and like what strengths do we have that really play well against these teams?
Yeah.
There is a certain brand of football that comes with the Big 12. So it's like, okay, well, how do we week in, week out, really scheme it up and get our strengths working for us?
Now, we're asking the best case, worst case scenario question today based on an article that was released by CBS Sports. And so I almost don't like asking, like, okay, what's the realistic worst case scenario for BYU? But we're trying to be fair to the situation. And in the CBS Sports article, it covered the whole spectrum. It said BYU could go winless in the Big 12. Also, they could win the Big 12 championship. And we were like, what?
Yeah, that's anybody. Hey, way to go on a limb, dude.
Right? Okay. So we gave our worst and best case scenarios, realistically speaking.
Yeah.
Like what would be a worst case scenario that you feel like could actually happen if BYU is not careful?
That's a really good question. It's interesting that they went so polar with that situation there. In my mind, I'm thinking we just don't get the opportunity to go to a bowl game.
Okay.
Because that's always been my mind when I go into college football is, at the worst, you don't get to go to a bowl game.
Yes.
Like the very worst. Like, so that's win 5. So
worst is 5. Yeah, he's kind of in line with what we've been talking about. We're all kind of thinking on the same page. You know, there was a lot of talk this weekend from multiple sources. Tom Homo was one that just said, hey, now that we're in the Big 12 and this new revenue's coming in, there's some things we need to do with this revenue, upgrades we need to make. What do you think are the pressing things that BYU needs to address to be able to compete in the Big 12, not just in football, but across the board?
A big thing I know with recruiting and the other Big 12 schools are these expansion announcements. So these facilities are getting upgraded. You know, you have different things from the weight room. I know we did our locker room here at BYU, which is awesome. But there's so many different things that you can add to your facilities that when recruits come, because they're going to be comparing.
Yes.
The moment they step on campus, they start comparing. Oh yeah, this. So it's like, okay, we got to let them know we're a player. Like we can play with anyone, and you can compare us to anyone because we know we can stand up to them. And at any level too, as far as facilities, locker room, weight room, then like the different things as far as you know, training goes. All those little things that come, like, oh, you get like your smoothie built for you here, and you get a personal one, you know, like in the NFL, right? So it's, you know, trying to make it so recruits feel that, wow, they're about it here.
Okay.
You know? So
yeah, the big time, like the glitz and glamour and the shiny and the fancy and the new, it matters.
Thanks to social media.
Yes, thanks to social media, it matters now. So put yourself in the shoes of a recruit right now, Bronson. Mm-hmm. Like, specify a facility or something in your facilities tour that would resonate with you. Like, what are we talking about? Like, would the weight room be like at the top of the list? Would the locker room be at the top of the list? Like, what do you care most about in all of those facilities?
I would really care about where I spend most of my time as an athlete. So for me, it's the locker room. Okay. Right? It's the weight room, it's the meeting rooms, it's also, you know, the education tech aspect of football. Because football, you know, as we all know, there's so much time that goes into studying. Yes. So it's like, okay, how do they get the edge on people? Because everything's about getting the edge. So in all those areas, it's like, okay, recovery, right? The training room, huge. You spend hours in there. And so all those things kind of put together are really like what I would expect, you know.
The things that impact you every single day.
Every day.
So it's interesting because the stadium impacts the fans. Tom Homo talked about that a little bit. But the stadium itself, as long as there's 65,000 fans and they're watching, you're good with that.
Yeah, because you hear the roar no matter what.
Interesting take. And I'm not going to make you get into detail on this, but I know you keep track of basketball. You guys are a big basketball family as well. Is BYU going to be able to compete in the Big 12 in basketball? And if not right away, how long is this going to take for BYU to adjust to Big 12 basketball, the best league in the country?
Now, basketball is a different animal, right? Because, and I know this is from going from football to basketball, but with anything in college sports, there's a big recruiting swing that happens. I mean, you see it when teams join any conference. And so for me, I'm thinking, okay, we get that going, then, I mean, those wins start coming. And basketball is unique because there's less people on the court. Yeah. So actually it takes less moves to get to that, you know, level. And so with football, there's a lot more people out there, and so it's a different mixture over here. But with basketball, it's like, oh, if we get like these two guys, they're taking most of the minutes, and they're doing really well, and they kind of carry like the whole team. It can move really fast.
An impact transfer can make a massive difference.
We haven't really talked about that much, and I'm glad that Bronson brings that up because it is a quicker turnaround. I think the gap is bigger, but the turnaround can be quicker. Because if you have 2 superstars, you have 2 NBA guys and 3 guys that just are role players, you're okay, right? So that's a great
Blaine,
point.
look at a team from the Big 12 like Kansas State last year.
Right.
Okay, team that got to the Elite Eight. Like, they were picked to finish last in the conference, and they got impact transfers immediately, and all of a sudden you're in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Like, it can happen fast. Great stuff from Bronson Kaufusi. Thanks for coming in, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Bronson. Hey, this Friday, join us for BYU Football Great Moments as Told by Players, Volume 2. As players, including Max Hall's heroics against Utah. I love Max Hall's heroics against Utah. And I also like his smack talk. Ty Detmer, Luke Staley, and more. Friday, noon Eastern on BYUtv and BYU Radio.
Remind me, does Max like Utah?
Oh, man.
Okay.
I love his smack talk against Utah.
Who is BYU's most underrated defensive player? We'll tell you our picks next. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Welcome to a partnership where customer experience comes first. It's our focus. It's your expectation. We provide support to those that go the extra mile for all of us. Supplying products, training, and service for generations. Learn more at bradyindustries.com.
Celebrate rewardflation at Mountain America. Get double rewards on every purchase with your Mountain America Rewards credit card to help with fuelflation, foodflation, and phytoflation. And on top of double rewards, every time you use your card, you'll be entered in Mountain America's smartphone giveaway. Details at macu.com/double. Double your rewards today.
BYU Sports Nation is sponsored by the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968.
Follow BYU Sports Nation on social media for content throughout the day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Am I missing any?
I think you got them all.
That's multi-platform is what we are.
Yeah, a Be Real? Like, do we have a Be Real?
I don't know. That's enough. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Do you have a TikTok account?
No, I'm afraid.
What, Blaine, listen, you're extremely musically gifted.
I should get one.
You should get a TikTok and just focus on your family. Show off your family and their musical talents.
Okay, it's on.
Yourself included.
I'm going to do it.
Let's go. Call it Fowler Magic or whatever. I don't know.
We'll do it. Showcase the music.
Yes, I'm Spencer. He is Blaine. Let's get to today's headlines. Presented by Tim Daly Nissan, part of the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Blaine, start us off with a little volleyball.
Yeah, let's start with Trent Moser. He's been added to the official travel roster for the 2023 F5VB Men's U21 World Championship.
Let's go, Trent.
How about that? They're taking place in Manama, Bahrain.
Yes.
From July 7th through the 16th, the U.S. will have their first game in the men's tournament U21 championships against Argentina Friday at 2. How about representing BYU? Trent Moser, right out of kind of nowhere, big-time player for BYU, was just a freshman last year, doing great things on the world stage.
Outstanding. My introduction to Bahrain was in the Asia Games when I was a missionary in South Korea, and I watched South Korea's national soccer team beat up on Bahrain.
Wow.
Yeah, at a World Cup stadium. On to baseball, Daniel Schneemann what else can we say about the dude that we haven't already said over the past 2 months? He is red hot within the Cleveland Guardians farm system. 4 for 4 on Monday night with the Columbus Clippers, AAA ball, in a loss to the Toledo Mudheads, but who cares? He was 4 for 4. He had 2 hits and 2 runs batted in last night and went over the Nashville Sounds as well. He continues to lead the Guardians' entire farm system in batting average. He's hit more home runs this season than he has in any previous season, and we're only in early July. Blaine, he's getting it done. And Jackson Clough in AA ball scored a run, stole a base, and was walked twice for the Harrisburg Senators in their loss to the Akron Rubber Ducks.
Awesome stuff. I love the name. So, hey, former BYU grad Rashawn Brodus will join the Toronto Raptors coaching staff as an assistant video coordinator, player development coach. Brodus played for BYU from 2005 to 2007. Previously was with the Memphis Grizzlies in the same role. Hey, that's a great starting point.
Eric Spoelstra started there.
The head coach of the Miami Heat.
Eric Spoelstra started in that very role.
That's for sure.
Those are today's headlines. Now let's opinionate in the whip. Cougar Whip Round presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
Let's start with this. Micah Harper is the 5th highest graded returning safety in the Big 12, according to Pro Football Focus.
Ooh.
Is he BYU's most underrated defensive player?
Wayne, he might be. He might be. And this is a credit to Micah because he just kind of quietly goes about his business until all of a sudden he lowers the boom, and then you're like, oh yeah, BYU has that guy. Mike is not super outspoken. If I'm not giving it to him, I'm probably giving it to one of his best friends, Jacob Robinson.
Amen to Jacob Robinson.
It's either Micah or Jacob as BYU's most underrated, underappreciated defensive player.
100% with you, and Micah's going to get a lot more action in the box because they'll play him up on line of scrimmage in this blitz defense, and you're going to see him hitting even more. But I am with you. Jacob Robinson is right there. Those two deserve more credit.
Yes. 5 defensive backs on the field is going to happen a lot.
Yes, it is.
They'll move them around, but there are going to be 5 defensive backs on the field. San Diego State has now claimed they never left the Mountain West. But the Mountain West Conference is insisting the Aztecs still owe the $17 million exit fee. Is this the end of San Diego State to the Big 12 or the Pac-12 for that matter?
First of all, my simple answer is no, it's not the end of that. I think there's still ongoing discussions because I think San Diego State is the most attractive non-P5 left.
If you want to get on the West Coast and a team that's like more available than depending on what happens with the Pac-12, they're the team, right?
Right. So I do not think it's the end of the discussions with either entity, the Pac-12 or the Big 12. I would love, for personal reasons, because I'm close to a lot of the folks in the program, to see San Diego State in the Big 12. I love the rivalry with BYU. Get him in the Big 12.
Give me San Diego State and Colorado right now, Blaine.
Okay, I'm with you.
Give me whatever.
Joey Chestnut. Everybody knows that name. It's a household name. He's a dynasty all in of himself.
GOAT of hot dog eating.
He won his 16th Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest Championship yesterday. He ate 62 hot dogs in 10 minutes. 62. They put water on him stuff to make him go down a little easier.
How?
If you could eat 62 hot dogs in exchange for one win on BYU's schedule, which game would you pick?
Probably Arkansas.
Okay, yeah.
One, because, pork dogs, Razorbacks.
I get the tie.
So
I get the tie.
But if BYU starts, if BYU starts 3-0, Blaine, our jobs are going to get very, very fun.
So it changes the game.
As the Cougars go into Big 12 play. If you're 3-0, you're probably in the top 25, just like barely sneak in, or you're just outside, and then you open Big 12 play, you beat Kansas, you're 4-0, and then you get to the best case scenario you presented in the A block, which is 5-0. Yep. You got to beat Arkansas. I would, you
traded for that.
Hot dog team for Arkansas.
I kind of want Texas on the road just to send them off with one more loss. to forever be emblazoned in the
continue the dominance against
But
Texas.
I would take Arkansas too. So
beating Texas would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
All right, Blaine, which was the better firework display? BYU's Big 12 celebration when the clock struck midnight from June 30th to July 1st, or your lack of 4th of July fireworks because you didn't go see them last night?
Well, because my thing was neighborhood of fire, so it's very easy for me. I did neighborhood of fire for the 4th, but so I'm going to go with the BYU Big 12 celebration, and because the fans turned out and the energy level was off the show. Look at this stuff.
It's incredible.
Come on, you can't beat that stuff. BYU's fan base and the Rock are second to none. I'm taking the Rock and BYU's fans.
Yeah, the Y's lighting up, fireworks being exploded off in the distance off of Helaman Fields.
Yes,
like that was nuts.
That was epic, and you know what? I'm just neighborhood of fire just didn't stand up. Just didn't stand up.
Neighborhood of fire. Oh, that would be the title of the show today if we still did.
Yes,
that.
neighborhood
of fire. Yes. Up next, we hear more from you about your realistic best and worst case scenarios for BYU football in year 1 of Big 12 play. Do you think they're going to go to the championship game? Could happen, right?